All right, we'll get it started. What's going on, guys? Dr. Matt here, host of the Roadie Strength Podcast. We got another special guest on today, Paul Johnson. Not Powie Johnson, as
not
Instagram
Powie.
says.
That's what Instagram says, but no, Paul Johnson in real life.
He's a ultra runner, ultra marathoner, also active duty Navy station here in Newport. He has a goal to run across the U.S. 3,000 miles. Is it 3,000 exactly?
You got to do at least 3,000.
At least 3,000,
yeah.
Okay. From L.A. to New York City. And this is attempting a world record of running 75 miles a day for 40 days.
That's right.
Cool. And you just did some running today.
Yeah, we actually had to push the podcast back a bit because I was out running.
And you did, was it 20 miles before you came in?
Yeah, 20 miles this morning. We'll do another 15 tonight, so 35 for the day.
And we'll get into the programming, but that's kind of been your like normal mileage as of right now.
Yeah, I mean it's increasing, but like Tuesdays are one of my long days, and we've been consistently doing 30 plus on Tuesdays. So
wow, cool. So every Tuesday you're running a little more than a marathon.
Yeah,
cool.
Just a little bit, right?
Nice. And I was just mentioning to you off air, I've done one marathon, so a lot of these questions I'm no ultra marathoner, but a lot of these questions will come more from like a PT or like a just training perspective, which I'm super curious about. But I have a little bit of that running background, so enough to kind of like be dangerous, I guess you could say. But and you're also, so you're doing tonight, you're running with the Newport Run Club?
Yeah, so
Cool.
Run Newport, local runs shop down there.
Sweet.
Every Tuesday night, they got a group that meets up, so we'll get down there, get some miles, get some good food afterwards, and have fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I was saying off air too, I haven't done that club, but I've done the Run and Chug Club. So Newport does a good job with the run clubs.
Yeah, they've got. It's probably one of the best running communities that I've been of all the places I've lived that I've been a part of.
No
so,
way.
Yeah, it's a pretty good community out here for running.
That's really cool. And are you almost, I mean, as far as this is kind of separate sport, but biking, a lot of the bikers around here, I would maybe not complain is the right word, but they're like, oh, there's no good places to bike except like basically on the streets with cars.
Yep.
Not a lot of really good bike trails. There's the Bristol bike path, but compared to other places in the country, it's tough. So that's interesting. That's cool to hear.
Yeah.
That the running is a good community here. All right, and one more question. This is a last minute one, but did you run during the storm yesterday?
No, so
Because it was pretty bad.
I really wanted to. So I'm off work a couple of days here for the holidays.
Cool.
And Mondays are like my light workout days. Like it's only like 3 or 5 miles. That's like my one day of recovery for the week.
Sure.
And
Cool.
so I went to the gym in the morning, and it was like ramping up. And then I could hear the rain coming down. I took a nap. And then I did another like podcast and phone call then.
Nice.
And then when I went to go out afterwards, like the rain was stopped. And like it was all done.
yeah,
And I was like,
yeah.
damn,
Ah,
I missed it.
missed
I was
it.
like, that would have been so much fun.
It hit hard, and like I know you were saying in your Instagram story today, like the waves are crazy. A bunch of these guys are
Yeah.
surfers. They're out surfing right now.
Oh, the surfers were out there. It looked like they're having the time of their lives.
It's huge, especially for like New England standards. Like they're like double overhead waves right now. They're big. So, and I came home yesterday and I had my garbage can like outside to get collected, and so it's light, and it was blown like 50 feet down the road. I'm like, there must have just been a random wind gust, or maybe someone hit it with their car. I was like,
Yeah,
how
well,
the hell did that happen?
Like one of the channel buoys coming into like Providence and under the bridge and everything, like one of those big channel markers was like washed up on Ocean Drive on the point there.
Wow.
And it's like, that's a big buoy. Like that, its anchor chain snapped and it's drifted all the way over here, like a
jeez.
mile or two.
Yeah, so we got some pretty stormy weather, which is, I mean, it happens. You get nor'easters, but somewhat unprecedented because we didn't know it was happening. I think we got like a day's warning. It was like, oh, the storm's coming through. But all right, so we'll get into rapid fire questions. So we'll make these kind of how long have you been in Newport now?
11. Well,
Almost a year.
almost a year. January 2nd
Cool.
will be a year, so almost a year.
So we'll try to make these somewhat around like Newport or Rhode Island in general. But do you have a favorite coffee shop in the area?
Oh, I hate coffee.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, no.
That's fair.
Hate coffee, but the one place I'll get like breakfast sandwich from, Ma's Donuts.
Nice.
Or
yeah.
There's a place in Newport. I forget what it's called. I think it's called Picnic. It's across from the
Pickles?
no. It's across from the Viking Hotel.
Oh.
On Toro
Yeah.
or Bellevue, whatever road that is there.
Yep.
It's a I think it's owned by a Danish family.
Gotcha.
It's pretty good. That's where I get like a BLT or something there.
Picnic Newport. Yeah. Okay. I haven't heard of it, but cool.
Yeah, they're pretty
to
good.
know. Okay. And that kind of answers my second question too. Favorite go-to for breakfast spot? Probably same spot.
Yeah. Ma's Donut, sausage, egg, and cheese on a croissant.
All right.
I'll get like 2 of those on my way to the gym, crush them, and then go inside and work out.
Nice. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but I know you do really well against the trolls on Instagram. Like I'm watching your posts.
I love
It's
them.
great. You have a very good technique on how to like deal with them. But we'll get into that a little bit on like what your nutrition is all about, kind of like day to day. But I'm excited about that. What is your favorite? How about just general restaurant? The place you've been in Newport so far?
Oh, I don't go out to a lot
No.
of restaurants.
May-
I'm trying to
maybe,
think like where. Oh, what's the? I got brunch one time with some people from work.
Okay.
Where, my mind is. I run past these places all the time, and I never look at the names of them. Yeah, it's between. It's on Broadway coming down to Thames,
Okay.
and it's like one of the French restaurants there. It's like on its way down to Long Wharf. You're heading down from Fastnet.
Oh yeah.
Down
yep.
to Long Wharf, and it's on the right-hand side there with the bank. There's
Yep.
a couple restaurants there.
It's gonna escape me too. It's a relatively new
I
place.
think it starts with a B.
Bouchard's? It could be Bouchard's.
You could say a name, and I'd probably agree with you.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
But
But it's a French place, so.
Yeah, well, it was good food.
Yeah.
Good
very
good
very
brunch.
good. Very good. Favorite recent book?
Oh, you're not gonna like this. I don't read a lot.
That's so. I mean, you're doing other things.
Yeah. Let's see. Last book I read was in the spring, I think,
Okay.
probably. And it was Running Man by Charlie Engle, who's a pretty big ultra runner back in the early 2000s.
Okay. Very cool. Have you read Born to Run?
I think so.
That's the one about it's a tribe in Mexico where the guys.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
I think it's an ultramarathon book. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you must have read that. That's a really good one. Cool, Running Man. I'll have to check that one out. Favorite recent podcast is the next one.
I don't listen to podcasts.
No.
No.
Okay, that's fair
Like, when-
enough.
A lot of people think they're like, oh, what books do you listen to or what podcasts do you listen to when you run? I'm like,
Don't.
I put on some music
Okay.
and I couldn't even tell you what songs are playing. Like I just
Really?
completely zone out and it's just like white noise to me.
Totally.
So
Do you ever have because I can relate to that. When I ran my marathon, I had a playlist set and I wasn't really paying attention to what was playing.
yeah,
But then there was a certain point where I was really dying, and a song came on that like really fired me up. It was a Meek Mill song, and then I was like, all right, let's go, and I pushed it from there. Do you have that happen to you sometimes running, or is it pretty much always just white noise?
yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes like one of those song hits and you're like,
Yeah, and here we
I'm
go.
gonna run through a wall. Let's go.
Yeah. Nice.
No, but I've got like 2 playlists. I've got like a 1-hour playlist of like gym and like fast running songs.
Nice.
And then I've got like a 30-hour country playlist with no repeats on it.
Nice.
And it's like sometimes I just alternate between the two and like what I'm listening to.
That's cool. Yeah, a lot of people. I mean, especially in the gym or running, a lot of people think like EDM, hip hop, but country's like, especially if you're going on long runs, like sometimes you need kind of a break and just chill out.
Yeah,
a
it's
little
just
bit.
like this. It's the slower music sometimes. Sometimes it's more like kind of like pop country.
Sure.
And
sure.
like yeah, it's just like kind of sets the tone, sets the mood for me. I'm just cruising along, zoning out.
Nice. That's good. This next one, I'm curious on your answer too. Favorite Instagram accounts, and the way I say this is something that you find interesting, educational, or just cool.
Oh yeah, I don't follow a lot of people on Instagram or
Okay.
like big accounts. I have a couple, but I don't like. It's just like I don't like a lot of people's posts.
Sure.
I enjoy looking at them, but I don't
Sure,
interact
sure.
with them a lot.
Yeah,
One of them is this guy that does time lapses of him cutting people's yards, overgrown yards.
Really?
He's just mowing the grass and weed whacking. Love
That
watching
sounds
it.
very satisfying.
Yeah, he just cuts these overgrown lawns for free. And then there's another one, like you go through like my related reels and stuff, and it's just farm equipment plowing the field.
That sounds
like,
very
I'm
satisfying.
just watching these big cool tractors just till the earth.
Nice.
So that's like
That
get
re-
bored, I could watch that for hours.
That reminds me of like for some reason, like the Zen gardens people have, and they just like rake the sand.
Oh, and they draw in the sand. Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
just for like meditation purposes, just like yeah, it's just very calming.
Yeah, but I'll be flipping through, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool tractor. What's going on here?
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. That is not what I expected, but I knew that was going to be a good answer, so I'll take it. Somewhere you've traveled recently, and this may be like this could be a running event or just in general.
Yeah, and I traveled. With the Navy traveling, and then with the running traveling. This year alone was California, Arizona, Utah, France, Italy, Sweden. Like I went to New York to visit for the first time, like for a whole weekend this year. So
wow.
Yeah, I got a lot of travel this year, surprisingly.
Yeah, multiple countries, multiple states.
Yep.
Very cool. And like you said, a lot of it running or work related.
Yeah.
But New York was fun. A fun
yeah,
trip.
New York was fun.
Nice.
Got some friends down there, so crashed with them, hung out with them
Nice.
all weekend, and then took the train back up.
Easy. Very cool. Next one, also a question I ask a lot, but very interested to hear your take. Favorite shoe or sneaker?
Yeah.
I'm guessing for running.
Yeah, Hoka.
Hoka.
Hoka,
Nice.
yeah, Hoka. I gotta do my total shoe count for the year. There's just a giant pile of them
I wanted to ask about that.
in the corner, and there's only like one pair that's not Hoka.
Really?
The rest are all Hoka. Trail, I'll wear the Challenger 7. I started the year on the Clifton 9, and then this summer I transitioned to the Bondi 8, which is just their max cushion shoe.
Cool.
Just because of all the mileage and all the running on asphalt that I'm doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I saw your post about your boneyard.
My boneyard.
How many shoes are in there?
It's got to be 20 plus at this point.
Wow, and those shoes are they're toast. Like you can't really use them anymore. Or?
You could use them, but I don't want to use them because of how worn. Like they've
Sure.
all got 300 to 400 miles on them. The treads are worn down.
Yep.
They're flat. The cushion's used up on them. Some of those pairs were like 3 of those I used in 2022, and they carried over to the beginning of 2023.
Gotcha.
For a little bit, but the rest are all like shoes I've worn or raced in or trained in for 2023.
Wow. Okay. So you're burning through shoes pretty quick.
Oh yeah, the local run store loves me.
Yeah, I bet. They gotta hook you up with like a sponsorship or they give you a discount.
They hook me up every now and then.
Nice.
But yeah, it's like I need a new pair of shoes every 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
I need because of how many miles I'm putting on them.
That's insane. Hey, but yeah, the alternative is wearing a shoe that's overworn and then you get an injury.
Exactly.
So you got to do what you got to
Yep.
do. Very cool. All right, so that wraps it up for the rapid fire. So next, I just want to give a brief intro, and I know you've talked about this on previous podcasts, so we don't have to go crazy on it. But how did you get into running? Kind of what's your background athletically, and then how did you end up choosing this goal, the Transatlantic Run?
Yeah, so I did sports when I was younger. I played on like the same travel soccer team. I was decent at the running.
Mm-hmm.
I recovered pretty quickly compared to a lot of other people. And like my parents had me doing track till 8th grade. Hated every minute of it. Like as soon as they let me stop, I stopped. College, I got into triathlon for a little bit. Did all the Ironman distances, and then I just kind of stopped once I commissioned the Navy and went overseas for a couple of years. I really didn't get into really into running until last year, summer of 22, when my friend asked me to run the Marine Corps Marathon with him. So I was like, yeah, sure, man, let's do it. We ran or trained for 4 or 5 months. Had a great time out there. Both broke that sub 3 hour mark for Boston, which was our goal.
That's super fast.
And I was like, all right, that was fun. Like, in my head, I was like, what can I do next? I'm like, oh, I'm going to train. I'm going to qualify for the Olympics for the marathon. That would be so cool. And then I looked at what it takes to actually do that, and I was like, okay, no, we're not doing this in the next. It's going to take us 5-10 years to build up to that. I don't want to do that. But I was thinking more about it, and back in 2016, when the current world record for the Transcon was set by Pete Kostelnick, he actually ran through State College, PA, where I went to school at Penn State. He ran through there on his world record run. And a couple of people from the triathlon club had gone out at the time to go run with him. I didn't go. I didn't really know much about it. And I was like, oh, cool, this guy's running by, whatever. I didn't really think much of it. And then in 2021, I think Hella Sabid, he was doing a transcon, and I didn't hear about it till like his last day because YouTuber Casey Neistat posted a video of them finishing the run. I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. I've heard about that before. Like, went back, watched the whole series. I was like, I want to do this someday.
That's
you
cool.
know, fast forward 2 years now, and we kind of been planning this for about a year. But yeah, we're gonna do it. That was kind of how I got into it. And when I got to Newport in January 2nd, I was like, all right, I'm gonna start running every day. Like, we're gonna start building up to this thing, kind of getting into the ultra scene. So I didn't run my first ultra until, well, I guess I had run an ultra before, but like my first like 100-mile race was back in April of this year.
Gotcha.
And then we've been slowly building up, and now we've just been kind of pedal to the metal on it for the past month and a half, getting ready to do this thing. And we're like, well, if we're going to do it, let's go big. So let's see if we can set a record on it.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Do you and you're working with a coach? We'll skip ahead a little bit. Are you working with a coach on this?
I am, yeah.
Yeah.
So he and I have been working together for about a year now.
Cool.
He's in the Navy as well. He actually coaches the all-Navy marathon team. So like all the inter-service competitions that they do, he coaches for the Navy team. And that's kind of how we got connected a little bit. We've been working together pretty much the whole year. He's like triathlon based though, with like his private coaching program.
Yeah.
And so when I had reached out to him and we kind of connected, he's like, yeah, I don't really do ultra. He's like, but I'm game to try. Yeah, like, let's see what happens. And I mean, it's been going well, right?
That's
like
awesome.
My first 100-mile, I qualified for UTMB, which is the like International Trail Running Championship of the World out in France. So I got to go and do that. We did a
So that's like the Olympics of ultramarathoning, essentially.
Yeah,
it's
kind of.
the top level.
It's like the world recognized race of like, this is like the finals of the year where everybody comes together from all over the world. Like there's like 3,000 people in this trail running race through the Alps.
Very cool.
And so we did that. We did a 2:46 marathon in San Diego back over the summer, and then we've just been kind of every other weekend I've had like a race that I'm doing, and so it's like over the summer it was kind of hard to do some of this specific training. But then now that we finished up with this year's Marine Corps Marathon back in October, we're like, all right, we're doing the programming for the Transcon here March 1st. And we're like talking about it. He's like, so what do you want to do? He's like, I was like, I don't know. Like, let's try this. Let's see what happens. So we're just kind of, swinging for the fences, and we'll see what happens. We're trying to mimic a little bit of what Pete Kostelnick did to train back in 2016 when he set his record.
Sure.
So we're because he's the only one who's done something kind of this ridiculous.
Right.
Otherwise, we're going into territory that no one's done. It would be a world record.
Right.
So we're kind of gauging it off of what he's done, and then giving it a little bit of our own spin to it.
Is Pete Kostelnick, is he still racing? Or is he done, or do you know?
He's still racing. Unfortunately, he actually was in a really bad car accident back in the fall. Leadville 100, which is a huge,
I've heard of that. Yeah.
huge trail race out in Colorado. He was riding in the back seat of one of the cars, just like spectating the race, and they got rear-ended in like a really bad crash. He had to get like airlifted out of there, and like all this surgery on like his hips and stuff. So like he's still like laid up in the hospital. So like I've talked with him about the record.
Really?
And I was like, didn't know how to approach it at first, because I'm like, he's in the hospital. I'm like, how do I approach being like, hey dude, I know you're in the hospital, but I'm also gonna try to like go for your record.
Right.
It's like, how do you approach that? No, but he was super cool about it.
That's awesome.
We emailed back and forth. He gave some feedback on things, and he's like, yeah, like go for it, man. Like that's why it's there. Like go for the record.
He gave you some good advice.
Yeah, so we've been
cool.
keeping in touch, and just kind of keeping it updated on how things are going.
That's really cool. So I mean, between your coach and like the guy who set the record before, you're in pretty good hands as far as like what you need to do.
Yeah, it's like we know what we need to do, and it's just a matter of my body doesn't fall apart in the process.
Right. And I definitely want to talk about that as well. Let's go right into it. What are you doing for recovery. I saw you post something the other day about deep muscle stimulation.
Yeah.
What is that? I haven't heard of that.
It's basically like a massage gun on steroids.
Okay.
Like one of those handheld massage guns,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's a lot fancier than that, and it goes a lot faster than that.
Sure. Okay.
But one of the PTs I'm working with, that's what she does, and so she's been doing that for me once a week, about an hour, since sometime over the summer.
Nice.
And then I'm just getting back into doing like the full body massages again.
Nice.
So between the DMS and the massage once a week, it's twice a week now. I mean, that's like the only recovery I really do. Like,
Totally.
I don't really do any of the sauna stuff, any of the ice bath stuff. Just go out there and just keep running.
What about like, do you have like a mobility, like stretching routine that you do, or you?
No.
No?
That's one of my problems,
Yeah.
probably. No, I do I got like some pipes, and I'll roll my feet on them.
Okay, nice. Like PVC pipe,
Yeah, it's just like a 5-6 inch diameter pipe.
hard plastic.
Yeah, hard plastic, and you just stand on it, rolling in all the different directions with both feet while you're standing on it, just kind of working those arches.
Gotcha. Very cool. What are you doing? Kind of transitioning a little bit. What are you doing for like hydration and? Well, start with hydration. How much water are you drinking during the day?
Not enough.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, because my run, the way we, to do 75 miles a day, we're not running 75 straight. It's like
Right.
run 15 to 20 miles, take a 15-minute break,
Mm-hmm.
and then repeat till we get to 75. And that 15-minute break gives me a chance to get calories down. Like actual food gives me a chance to just catch my breath for a little bit, stretch out, and increase some blood flow, whatever we need to do. So when we do these training runs, I'll do 15 to 20 mile segments. So even if I'm doing a 30-mile day, I'll run 15, 20 miles, take a 15-minute break at home, and then go back out and finish the miles. But when I run, I can only carry so much water with me.
Right.
So I have about 600 milliliters in between two bottles that I'll carry with me. And I try to stretch them out to 10 miles each, which is really easy to do in the winter here. But then as soon as I get back home for that 15-minute break, I'll just pound back an entire liter of water
Yeah.
in 3 seconds. So it's not as much as I should be doing, but it'll be much easier when we do the actual transcon because I'm going to have the crew drive. I mean, all this I'm doing, by myself here.
Right.
We'll have the crew driving with me, and basically every 2 miles, the vehicle will be there, and they're going to hand me food and water to just constantly taking in what we need during the day.
So you'll have is it like friends that will go with you essentially? Like,
Yeah, so
'cause
we've
these
got-
guys will have to take off like 40 days from work essentially.
Yeah, so we got a full-time crew of 4.
Wow.
One of them is one of my drill instructors from Penn State when I was going through the ROTC program.
Okay.
He's a Marine. He's now stationed out in San Diego. He was one of the first people I asked, and he's like, "Yes, let's
awesome.
do it." So he's coming out. The PT I have here in Newport, she's going to come out.
Oh, good.
Yeah, which is huge. And then obviously, you got to have your mom. So my mom's out there.
Nice.
She's doing a lot of helping me with a lot of the planning right now because
Cool.
running 5-6 hours a day plus work plus sleep. It's I don't have.
Are you gonna be working during it?
No, but
Oh.
right now, it's
Oh,
I
right
don't
now,
have
yep.
I don't have a lot of free time, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
she's helping with a lot of that, and then she'll be out there with the logistics as well. We're working on the 4th member. There's a couple things up in the air still, and then we'll have a media team of about 1 to 2 people. So the whole crew is going to be 5 to 6, and there's lots of people that are going to be coming out to help through the length of the run, right?
Nice.
For a week or 2, coming out for a weekend, whatever, and helping out, crewing, pacing, all those things.
Oh, like pacers as well.
Yeah.
You guys, that's cool. That's gotta help a ton, huh?
Yeah, I mean, even if I don't like to talk a lot when I'm running.
Yeah.
And I just want to run, but having people there just next to you running with you makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
And it's not when you talk about pacing, it's not like they're going to run that perfect pace and then you stay with them. It's like when you talk about ultra pacing, it's just having that company with you.
Yeah.
And it's damn, I really hurt right now. They're like, okay, keep running. You're like, okay, I'll keep running.
Yeah.
That's the pacing.
Too bad.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's cool. So you must have pretty big, you have like a Sprinter van or something like that, a pretty big vehicle that you're.
Yeah, so the plan is we'll have an RV for the crew.
Nice.
And then I'll have basically like a Sprinter van.
Yeah.
I think specifically it's going to be like a Ford Transit camper van.
Cool.
That's actually getting built out I was just talking, a company that has like a special patent on their vans on how they build them a special way. They're actually like, yeah, we'll build you a van in 2 months. So they're gonna build me a specialized van for the event.
Very cool.
And then when it's all done, obviously we're gonna give them a whole bunch of publicity with it, and then they'll take it back and they'll sell it or do whatever they're gonna do with it. But
nice. Okay.
That's a huge help in terms
Yeah.
the cost to do this thing is pretty large, and so it's like any little bit of help like that is like
It's unreal.
we appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, very cool. Let's talk a little bit about nutrition, because I know we alluded to this earlier. And people on Instagram are kind of at you on this. Like you don't have an issue with like going and eating a bunch of cookies or Pop-Tarts or like pizza, and like your traditional like athlete mentality is like, oh, I have to eat like very pure, very organic. But
I gotta eat clean.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But and I understand where you're coming from, but a lot of people are like, what is he doing? Like he's trying to set a world record. Why is he eating this stuff? But you just have to get in literally as much calories as possible.
Yeah, it's like for me to maintain my weight, I need to eat 6,000 to 7,000 calories a day right now.
Wow.
And that's just so I can stay 170, 175 pounds that I am with all the running I'm doing.
Right.
And that's doing the 30, 35 miles a day. I mean, once that bumps up and we're actually doing the run of 75 a day, you look at like elevation changes, everything else. Like I'm gonna need 12 to 15,000 calories a day.
Mm.
It's like you can't get that eating the way people expect you to eat.
Yeah.
And it's also like the amount of energy that I'm burning is I don't have time to wait for everything to digest, and like I need energy and I need it now.
Yeah.
And so you look at things like the thing people hate most is the Pop-Tarts. It's like,
Really?
Oh yeah. I think if I just gave up Pop-Tarts, the internet would be okay with how I eat. Everyone seems bent over those. But yeah, literally anytime I step out the door, I have a Pop-Tart in hand going in my mouth for the first half mile while I'm running.
Yeah.
I didn't show it in the last video, but I drink when I'm doing these things so much Coca-Cola. Like soda's like a great source of calories and sugar.
What about the carbonation? Does it screw with you at all?
It depends,
Yeah.
right? Some people don't like you go to these ultra races, soda is very plentiful. A lot of people drink it. It depends. Sometimes I like the carbonation because it actually, for me, it helps me settle my stomach.
Oh,
and just
interesting.
like the bubbles. But other times I want it shaken out and I want it flat.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, like pizza, amazing. Like I eat half a pint of ice cream a night right now. During the transcon, I'll probably eat a full pint a night. It's just like,
Wow.
it's a very easy source to get a lot of calories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like people ask about the macros, like what are your macros? Like I couldn't tell you. I don't track
You don't
any
track-
of that.
yeah.
I don't even really track the calories. The only time I know calories is because I sit down, I'm like, okay, what is every little thing?
And then you can figure it out.
And then I can figure it out. But really, I'm eating until my stomach stops getting mad at me. And it's like, okay, you finally had enough food. We'll calm down now.
No way.
Yeah.
So you're just super hungry.
it's just my grocery bill's getting ridiculous.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's like I'm feeding a family of 3 right now, but it's just me.
That's wild. A side story on that. When I was in Europe when I was in school, we did a broadening experience trip, and I got really sick, and I was really dehydrated, I had a stomach bug, and in France we went to the walk-in, like the doctor, and I'm like, hey, do you guys have any Gatorade? And I guess for whatever reason, I don't know if it was that particular hospital or if the Gatorade's just not really a thing in Europe. They're like, what's Gatorade?
Yeah.
Maybe there's language barrier, I don't know. But they came back and they brought me flat Coke.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just thinking about that. I'm like, I guess I needed to replenish because I had a bad stomach bug. Like
Yeah.
I needed to replenish. So interesting you say that, like the flat Coke. That just brought me back to that.
Yeah, and so like you saw on social media, it's I just post a video. People are always like, "What do you eat?" Like, how do you like? People ask these questions.
Yeah.
I'm like, sure, that sounds like a great idea. I'll share that with everyone. And then everybody just wants to jump in, like, you can't eat like that, or like, don't eat standing up. And I'm like, what?
Don't eat
Like,
standing up.
And I always ask, my response is like, why? And then they never say anything back. I'm like, okay, great, cool.
It is so funny because like I think the way the algorithm works, like you probably the most ridiculous questions you probably are like, all right, what does this guy want? You respond to,
Yeah.
and then so it's a picture of whatever you're doing, and then to me, but probably to most people, it's like a very ridiculous question. Then you having like a very like legitimate like appropriate response, but also being like, what are you
Why?
talking
Yeah.
about? It's like very simple. So
Yeah.
it's funny. Almost every single post. But I mean, I guess that's what happens when you start to gain a following. Like just the trolls come out of the woodwork and just
Yep.
there's stupid people out
Yeah.
there, I guess, and people who are just like, I don't know, maybe it's deep rooted like jealousy, or maybe it's deep rooted like haters essentially, like trying to like take you down.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple people. It's like I know as soon as I see their name, I know
You're
who
like,
they
"Oh,
are.
yeah, jeez."
Yeah, there's been one guy.
Big fans.
Yeah, there's been one guy recently where he's just every single post I do, he's like, "Are you just gonna keep posting these videos every day?" And it's like my response
Yes.
is, "Are you just gonna keep commenting every day?" And it's
Yeah.
just like,
Just like,
what do you want me to do?
what?
Like, if you don't like it, don't follow me.
yeah,
Like,
you-
you're I can see you're following me. Block me. Do whatever you
Yeah,
want.
you
Like,
literally don't have to follow me.
Yeah.
If you're actually getting angry, you're making yourself angry by following.
Yeah,
me.
and then they'll write these huge paragraphs about how like I shouldn't do certain things because of this or that, and I just go, okay, I'm still gonna do it. And then they write a whole nother paragraph, and it's like, how much time are you spending?
And a lot of the questions are definitely based on like, and I don't even have a truly big understanding of ultramarathon running, but I can tell a lot of people are like, I think there was something they asked you about like, why do you tape your toes?
Yeah.
And it's like,
I
oh,
mean,
you should wear a
they're-
wide
they're
toe
taped
box.
right now.
Yeah, right. Because you have to.
Yeah.
Because they'll blister.
Mhm.
And I think the response was like, oh, you should wear a wide toe box shoe. And you're like, well, I forget what your response was, but essentially it's like you need to wear a shoe with like a Hoka with a ton of cushioning because you're doing so many miles a day.
Yeah.
It's like you don't really have an option.
That was a big one when I started showing some of the toe taping.
Yeah.
Is they're like, well, that's because you're wearing the wrong socks. I'm like, okay, I'll bite. Like, what socks
What?
should I be wearing? I'm down. Let's see where this goes. And they're like, you need to wear the toe socks.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, why? And they're like, well, because that'll prevent the blisters. And I'm just like, the only difference between a toe sock and a normal sock is that there's fabric in between the toes. I don't get blisters between the toes.
Right.
You get blisters on the parts that touch the shoe.
Sure.
And the toe sock's not going to change that. So it's like, what? You're trying to make these arguments that like you have no basis for what you're trying to talk about.
Yeah, and if it's someone who's like experienced or knowledgeable about like, like even like marathon running or ideally the ultra marathon running community, and like they're telling you and they're giving you advice like that, okay, sure, like let's have a
Yeah.
conversation. But it's like, I can tell it's just people who are like have no idea what they're talking about and they're trying to give you advice.
Yeah, all the runners and the people in the ultra community, they're like, oh, I do the same thing, or,
Yeah,
they're like, oh, that's a great idea, I'm gonna start doing that.
Right.
It's like,
Supportive.
yeah, they're like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then all the naysayers are the ones who just
have
kind of
no
jumping
idea.
in. Yeah.
It's wild. One other piece on nutrition. Any supplements that you're taking?
Caffeine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
that's effective.
I hate coffee, but I love caffeine.
Do you do like a pre-workout or?
Yeah, it's a pre-workout. Pretty much take that every morning. It's like 150 milligrams of caffeine. Sometimes I'll take another like 50 or 60 milligrams in the evening if I'm doing like another run. Like I'll probably take some before another 15 miles today.
Sure.
But other than that, I don't take any supplements.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
I mean, as far as supplements go, I'm kind of on the side of like less is more a lot of times.
Mhm.
Like I have a couple things that I take, but yeah, caffeine is really one of the most like powerful ones. So
Yeah, it's crazy what that can do for you. Like
Yeah.
some of these ultra races where it's like UTMB out in France there. It took me 39 hours to finish that race.
yeah,
And I just remember, I have these 200 milligram like straight caffeine pills
yeah,
that I'll carry with me on a race.
yep,
And it's like you start hitting like hour 19, 20, and you start living off these things.
right.
And I just remember like 3 huge climbs left, like 8 more hours of running, and like every 2 hours, just another 200 milligrams of caffeine. And you think about how much you're taking in, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Like my heart's just going to explode. But
You gotta like look up a quick calculation. What's the toxicity of caffeine? Like, at what dose does
Yeah.
it kill me? All right, I'm under that. Okay, keep going.
yeah, that was like for a little bit, I was like, how can I make my own like caffeine drink mix?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I was like, all right, I'm going to buy caffeine in bulk.
Yep.
And I was like, why can't I buy this thing in bulk? And it's like you need all these approvals because of the because of the dosing of caffeine. You can't buy it in bulk unless it's for manufacturing or commercial use. You can't buy it for personal use.
I didn't know that.
Because of how much people overdose on it.
Interesting.
So you can only buy it in like tablet form for personal use because it's already like broken out.
That makes sense. Because I was trying to do the same thing recently. I was like, oh, there's a lot of pre-workouts out there, but what about just a pure caffeine pre-workout? I don't need anything else in it.
Yeah.
And there is no, like, at least I couldn't find any caffeine powder that you can buy.
You can't buy it because of just how...
it's too potent.
Yeah, the potency of it is it's a lot of overdose issues with it.
Sure, you could easily just do a couple scoops.
Even like a full teaspoon or tablespoon of caffeine, like you take that straight all at once,
right?
And it'll just knock you out. So
Gotcha.
That's why you can only buy it in pill form for personal use.
Interesting. That makes a lot of sense because I was so confused. I'm like, every other supplement out there you can buy just pure, but you can't get that pure. Very interesting. Okay, so we touched upon it briefly, but I want to talk a little bit more about the gear. So we talked about the tape. So you're taping for every run?
If it's more than 15 miles, so like if it's I kind of do like 5-mile intervals. So if it's 20 miles or more, I'll tape.
Gotcha.
Or if it's raining, I'll tape.
And then just from a marathon perspective, I know chafing was always very scary for me for like nipples, groin. Like, do you have any sort of like anti-chafe like stick that you use?
My nipples are taped right now still from this morning. Like,
nice. So you just immediately do that for the runs.
Yeah, again, it's like that. It's like it depends on the shirt I'm wearing.
Sure.
Because if it's a shirt with like, a print on it, that print's a little bit stiffer, and so that'll cause some chafing issues.
Gotcha.
But like this or like what you're wearing, it's not as much of an issue. But if it's raining, it definitely does.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But yeah, 20 miles or more, I'm taping my nipples. Lots of lube. Like usually, I don't like wearing a shirt when I run.
Sure.
But the problem is then you get like the underarm chafe.
Yeah.
And so for the ultras, I always wear a shirt for the ultras just because you're out there for so long. Like that chafing sucks.
Yeah.
But like also like crap ton of lube like in the groin, in the butt crack, like more lube than you need. You want down there.
Yeah. Perfect. That's kind of what I expected.
Yeah.
And then we talked about shoes already. And you do the videos where you do like the full get up. A lot of people ask you questions about your headlamp too. Do you have a special headlamp to choose?
Petzl Neo RL. It's they have a smaller one that seems to be pretty big because it's much lighter. A lot of people like that. I like the one that I have because it's got some settings with the brightness and it's heavier, but it's got a red strobe integrated on the back of it. And because I do so much like road running almost specifically, it's like I want that extra light.
Just so you don't get hit.
Yeah.
Enough.
Still get hit, but you do what you can.
Yeah, exactly. And then the big question, the ducky shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any like meaning behind those, or is it just fashion?
It's fashionable.
Cool. Hell yeah, I love it.
No, I think that it's just hilarious.
It is.
And people look at it and they have to do a double take. And
what are you wearing, ducky shorts?
Yeah, I'm just wearing some rubber ducks through the mountains,
Love it.
Yeah, people love them, so we're having fun with it.
That's cool. And then we talked about this a little bit, but I'm sure you carry some sort of hydration and like carbohydrates on you, or?
So I wear a race belt, which is just like an elastic waistband.
Okay, yeah,
with a bunch of pockets on it. It's like, I don't know, like it's like that wide and it goes around your waist. You can stuff. I can stuff a lot of stuff in there. That's how I carry my phone. I can stick my jacket on the back.
Nice.
I keep some chapstick in there. But the whole front of it is just a big pocket. So, like today for the 20 miles, it's not enough, but it gets me through. 3 Cliff Bars, so that's like 800 calories. And then I carry 2 300 milliliter bottles of water, but that has Tailwind mixed into it, which is like an endurance fuel.
Okay. Is it like carbohydrate?
Carbohydrate, mostly sugar-based.
Okay.
Sugar and electrolytes. And so each of those bottles is another 100 calories as well. So between that, I've got about 1,000 calories, and then I could bring some extra calories with me, but usually it's a water that I'm running out of before I'm running out of fuel.
Sure.
But yeah, that's what I'll run with in just all sits right there. You wouldn't even know I'm carrying it all with one of my shirts like
Yeah.
down because it just sits tight to the body and it's
Nice.
comfortable.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's something. I mean, obviously with your races too, you'll have the van to help you like supply, so you don't have to carry all that stuff. Right?
Yeah, I'll still wear some sort of a race belt like that, but I won't have all that stuff in there. I'll probably just have like my phone and like the GPS tracker, because every 2 miles, like the bottles have a hand strap on them. The 2 miles is short enough that it's like I can grab any food I need when I pass those points.
Gotcha.
So we're just kind of keep handing off as I'm going and dumping trash and taking more food.
Very cool. Two or three more topics that I want to talk about. One is the gym. Talk about training, because I mean, especially for most runners know now, especially if they're serious, but especially for very recreational runners, it's good to hear that you should be in the gym training. So I want to talk about that, and then mental fitness, because I know with what you're doing, for most runners in general, like you can hit mental blocks, like, oh, I don't want to go this day, like what keeps you going from that, and then if it sounds like you've been pretty good, but like any injuries or any like, and I know you're working with the PT, which is great, but training around that, cross training, that type of stuff, and then I think we'll pretty much be getting close to the wrap up point there. But I want to hit those three topics for sure. So yeah, let's talk about the gym first.
Yeah.
So I see you've been doing some heavy lifting.
I like picking things up and putting them down.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm by no means a power lifter.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the strongest guy in the gym, but I can move some weight for my size. What we've been doing is hour in the gym 3 times a week. Basically two sort of exercises, a chest, shoulders, and triceps day, and then a legs, back, and biceps day. And the day's just, it's like an A-B workout that we just alternate. That's kind of gone down to 2 hours a week rather than 3 hours a week, just with the amount of time I have available and how much I'm spending running now. So it's pretty much one of those workouts in the beginning of the week, one of them at the end of the week. It's just like an hour of, big compound exercises, incline press, overhead press, squats, deadlifts, all sorts of things, and a little bit of the smaller movements as well, just trying to make the muscles big and used to the load of everything.
Do you have any? Because I know at the highest end for like marathon runners, but there's debate about this. So I know some marathon runners would say like, oh, I don't want to put on too much mass because every step I take, that's more mass.
Sure.
I don't know if you've heard
I've
that
heard that,
argument. But then you have other guys like, I don't know if you follow like Nick Bear.
Yeah.
So he's obviously super jacked and he's running really fast marathons. So do you have any input on like that?
When I was doing the triathlon in college, I think I was like 160, 165. And I remember thinking going into my race, I'm like, if I could lose 5 pounds, like I could go faster because I don't have to. But then the more I think about it now, it's like, I don't even care about my weight.
Yeah.
Or like, some people are like, the physique or the weight. It's like, I honestly don't care. All I care about is, are my muscles strong enough for what they're trying to do?
Sure.
And can they last? I think weight maybe plays into it a little bit, but I think it's a bigger deal when you look at something like, not so much how difficult is it to move, but maybe the stress on your body.
Sure.
Like if you take someone who's 300 pounds and you tell them to go run 30 miles, it's a lot more force that they're putting onto muscles, tendons, bones, compared to someone who's 100 pounds putting onto muscles, tendons, and bones. And so for them to be able to support all that and not injure themselves, like you could make your muscles stronger, but you can't really make your bones that much stronger.
Sure.
So I think there's some legitimacy to that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I don't think it makes all that a difference for people who are generally healthy and fit.
Yeah.
Whatever's going to make you happy. But I think that having that muscle is a lot better. Having a little bit of extra weight's okay because that you've got the strength and you've got the sustainability that your body's going to hold up to the constant beat of everything.
Your body's more bulletproof.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. That's very cool. And are you doing much as far as like, I guess you probably don't have to, but like cross training your cardio, like hitting the bike, swim.
No,
No.
no. I think I've sat on a like bike in the gym a total of 1 hour in the past year, and that was because I had injuries and I was just
Sure.
like, I just want to do something here. Like let me do this for a little bit.
Gotcha. Hey, the bike's kind of boring, so I get that.
Yeah.
And then this is more on the running side of things, but are you doing any sort of like, because a lot of marathons, depending on your programming, they'll have like a longer day, a more pace day, and then maybe like a speed training day. Are you doing anything that's kind of like more like speed style training, or?
We were in the beginning of the year when I
Sure.
was doing some of the focused marathon training, trying to get that sub 2:45. We would do Tuesdays would be the speed day on the track, and we would do like 18 miles just cutting circles on the track with a bunch of speed in there.
Wow.
And then Thursdays a little bit. But the problem is it's such a shock to your system that the recovery from that, I would feel it for 3-4 days into the weekend.
Wow. Okay.
But like what we're doing now is like there's no speed work, because like with ultra, sure, some people may care about the speed and building overall top speed, like to compete in some of the, at the elite level for some of these races. But what we're trying to do here is, I don't care about speed. I care about, can I do a sustained effort for 15 hours a day for 40 days?
Right.
And so all of my miles are what would be considered easy effort. Everyone's got their own. How fast is easy? It depends on the person.
Right.
But zone 2 heart rate for me, it's like a 9:30 to 10-minute mile, and so all my miles are just 9:30 to 10, and just consistency. Just keep hitting those marks. I don't even look at the pace. The only thing I look at on my watch when I'm running is my heart rate.
Really?
Yeah, like that's the only thing on the screen, and it's like, okay, if it hits 150, is there a hill? No. Okay, then you need to slow down.
Gotcha.
Or like if it's in like the 130s, it's like, okay, you can go a little bit faster. So if I can sit somewhere in those 140s, I'm very happy with that, and I could do that number all day long.
When you're doing a race, is it the same thing? Are you looking at your heart rate?
Yes and no. Right? Because like I have a chest strap, and that's way better data than trying to get like the wrist read, because the wrist readings are
not great.
They're kind of phony a lot of the times, and you get water, it gets all messed up.
Sure.
But for the races in the beginning of the year, I was kind of looking at that pace, and then in the back half of the year, I was looking more at the heart rate, and it's, I think, mentally a lot easier just looking at the heart rate.
Sure.
Because I'm looking at the pace, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get this number, or I also see the distance, and I'm like, oh, I'm only 10 miles in out of 100. Like I got 90 miles to go, and it just like messes with your mind.
Sure. Sure.
I think it's a lot easier to just run based off that heart rate, because then I'm just checking that number, and that number doesn't really change. It just kind of sits there static.
Mm-hmm.
It may fluctuate a little bit, and then we adjust. And then when it beeps for like my mile interval, I'm like, oh wow, I was actually doing like a 9:20 on that, and I was like, or like a 10:05. And it's like, okay, was I going uphill? Was I going into the wind? Like, why was I going slower?
Mm-hmm.
Was I just not putting in the effort? And then we just change it a little bit.
Totally.
So.
Do you have, this kind of a side question on that, do you have any strategies on how you're breathing during the run? I know it's just some like people who do like nasal breathing and like stuff like that, but
for me, it's like I mostly just breathe through my nose.
Yeah.
Like if I have to breathe through my mouth, I'm probably working too hard.
Sure.
That's kind of my gauge.
You're zone 2.
Yeah, it's like if I can just run breathing through my nose, I know I'm in a good spot regardless of what my heart rate is.
Sure.
But when I start going up a hill or something like that, the heart rate goes up, the breathing goes up a little bit. It's not that I'm wheezing, but I'm like I need to open my mouth and just keep that nice flow of oxygen going.
Right.
So I don't really use any special techniques, just that's sort of my gauge of how's my pace right now.
Nice. I like that. That's cool. That kind of brings us into, as far as like heart rate goes, like some of that mental fitness side of things. Like, are you doing anything as far as like, well, kind of sleep works into this too, and I heard you talk about this on a different podcast, so we can get into that a little bit as well. But what are you doing as far as like the mental fitness as like motivation? Like what keeps you going?
Yeah.
When it gets hard and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, motivation is like, I don't really like motivation doesn't get it done.
Sure.
Right. I mean, I absolutely hate going out for a run.
Really?
Like, the mental wall that I have to climb over to put my shoes on and go out the door and start running is crazy. But as soon as I get a quarter mile in,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is awesome. I never want to stop. Right? And so it's like I'm not motivated to do it. It's just like I have to do this thing, and if I don't, like, I don't know. But
Yeah.
like I have to do this thing.
Right.
And because you're not motivated
Yeah.
in most of the things you do. It's just like I mean, it's a little cliche, but it's like about the discipline of like, are
Right.
you disciplined to go do it no matter what's going on?
Right.
And so that's one of the biggest challenges for me in the winter right now is I don't mind running in the cold. I don't mind running in the rain. But waking up at 3 because like I got to get my miles done before I go to work so I can do the evening miles too, make it all fit. It's like getting up at 3, trying to run by 3:30. It's like if I can get my shoes on and step outside the door, I'm good.
Yeah.
But trying to get over that hurdle is like it's a big battle a lot of days.
That's tough. Do you have days where you're like, I'm just gonna skip it today?
Not skip it, but it's like, oh, I'm just gonna sleep until like 6 today.
Nice. Yeah.
And then it's like that was last week when we started doing 26 miles on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's like, hey, we're gonna split it up in the morning and afternoon. And that first Tuesday, I was like, I don't want to get up this morning.
Yeah.
And then I'm at work and I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, damn, I gotta run a whole marathon when I get home after work today.
So there's payback on
It's
the
payback,
backside.
and it's like I think that happens to me enough that it's like, all right, you idiot, like you're gonna suffer now, or you can suffer tonight. And it's
you
gonna be a
know the
lot worse.
consequence,
So it's like we have to do these. Like, if we want any chance at trying to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish, the running has to be done.
Yeah, you got to put in the work.
Exactly, and so it's all right. You're gonna pay now, or you're gonna pay later.
I guess that's one style of motivation in a way. Like, do it now or do it later.
Yep.
Get it done. That's really cool. Sorry, so we touched upon pretty much a little bit of everything: nutrition, hydration, gear, coaching. One question I had on the coaching. You had a post recently about you switched up your running stride.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and you can explain it, but it looks like you try to make it a change for efficiency purposes.
Yeah. So I mean, when you think about like the running stride, everybody pictures, these elite marathon runners with their beautiful leg kicks behind them and their arms going. And yeah, it works, or like sprinters on racing around a track. And it works really great for them, and it works really well. But again, it goes back to that I'm not so much worried about speed as I am how long can I do this over and over and over again. And the way that we can preserve that energy level as well as help the body hold up is how efficient can we be in the process. And a lot of that is just the technique and how you run. So like I don't have a huge, like when you see me run, it's almost like you kind of look at me kind of funny because I'm doing like, it almost looks like a fast walk that I'm doing.
Sure.
My feet barely leave the ground. They're not kicking up. My hands are like super tight to my body. They're not swinging a lot. And it's just all about having like those smaller movements that take, can you measure the difference in energy between them? It's minuscule. But when you extrapolate that over 15 hours a day, for a month and a half, it's like it starts adding up. And so like any little bit of changes that we can make to improve that efficiency is what we're going for. And so like, I mean, my coach, he's always like sending me back, I send him some of the videos and stuff. He's like, get your hands tighter. Like,
really?
Because if you think about it, your arm is just a big lever. So if I have like a water bottle in my hand, the further away it is from my body, the more energy of that lever is going to take.
Right.
But if I can keep it close to my body, now that weight's much closer, so, physics and stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
You're not moving that mass of your arm as far, and so
Right.
it takes less energy.
Sure.
And that's what we're going for, is how much energy can we preserve
Right.
when we're doing these runs.
Trying to just break any leaks in the chain, just make it as efficient as possible. That's interesting. I was looking at there's a certain type of marathon runner. I think it could be like the Ethiopians, or, the way they run compared to most other runners. That most marathon runners are a little more of a 90-degree angle.
They've got that like obtuse angle. They're super tight with their arms.
Super tight, and at the highest level. So that's really interesting you say that. So they're almost like using that same strategy. I mean, for speed, so for a different purpose.
Yeah,
but
and so like
still using
they've got slightly different biomechanics in how what they're trying to achieve with that, but the end goal is the same. It's like being the most efficient at the task they're trying to do. And for them, it's running very fast for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And for me, it's not running super fast, but running at a decent speed for 15 hours.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right. No, that's cool. Cool. All right. So that's pretty much most of the running questions here, and we're coming up on the top of the hour. So we'll start to wrap up. Just a couple wrap-up questions here. So the run. So we talked about the plan already. We talked about the prep, the routine. That's starting in how many days out are you now?
When we're recording this, 73.
Okay. This will probably, I'm going to see if I can get this out as soon as possible, but it typically takes me a couple weeks to get everything edited and together.
Yeah. So we're starting March 1st.
Perfect. Okay. It'll be out definitely before that, so that'll be good. So my typical wrap-up questions are, what's in store for the future? So that's your big thing. You're looking forward to
we're
March 1st.
going to run across the country. That's it.
Yeah, nothing too big.
Casual.
Anything that you want to plug at this point? I don't know if you have any like sponsors or just any shout-outs.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're working some of the sponsorship and stuff like that, so, I mean, that'll be to come.
Cool.
But, I guess I'll say this, is that we're going for the record on the run.
Yeah.
And that's a huge media piece of it, but that's only a small part of it. What we're really doing, and like at the end of the day, yes, the record's important, but I don't care about the record.
Sure.
What we're really doing is we're trying to raise awareness for mental health and fundraising $1 million for veteran health and wellness charities.
Very cool.
It's an issue that is very rampant in the military, active duty, and veteran communities. Like I myself struggle with anxiety, depression, a lot of other of those issues. A lot of my peers do. And so like that's the reason we're doing it, and we're going to be doing a lot of work up to that and getting that message out. But it's really 3 parts, right? It's the record, it's the awareness, and it's also the fundraising.
Very cool. Do you have any and if not yet, that's fine. Any like links or ways that people can donate at this point, or
yes,
down the pipeline, or
yeah? So the website's live. It's cool. pauljohnson.run. So we're still doing some tweaks to the website and get everything lined up, but that's
cool.
gonna have everything that we're doing. It's gonna have updates for the run, live tracking, donation, everything. It'll be like it's the one-stop shop for everything.
Very cool. And then also for now, people obviously follow you on Instagram. It's Paui Johnson.
Yeah.
Was Paul taken? I'm guessing.
Paul's such a common name. My goal is, my like pipe dream is like you Google Paul Johnson, maybe I'll be at the top one day.
Yeah.
But it's like there's like some football coach that's like the top Paul Johnson search. I'm like, we'll get him eventually.
We got Paui Johnson for now. And then Strava.
I don't know what my Strava. If you go to Instagram you find my link, it'll take you to Strava. But my Strava name's just Paul Johnson. I don't know what the actual athlete number or anything like that is.
That's cool. Is that it? Is there anything else? For follow, like, subscribe.
We're follow and subscribe. Click the link below. No, I got YouTube's like in the works. It's at Paui Johnson as well.
Cool.
That's slowly building up, getting some of the videos posted there because I know some people like that platform better.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Awesome.
But it's all coming together.
And then we'll leave you with one last question. So, it's favorite quote or mantra, and I'm putting you on the spot. I know a little bit right here. So think about it. So the way I describe it is, so in Rhode Island we have Route 95. We'll use 95. We won't use 195 because that bridge is absolutely destroyed right now as we're talking. But they did open it up recently. But all right, that's besides the point. So Route 95, there's a billboard. Have you seen the big blue bug yet?
No.
So if you go up to Providence, it's not highly noticeable, but it's kind of just like a Rhode Island like famous thing. There's a company that does like bug spray, like termites, like stuff like that. And they have a massive. There's like it looks like a 4th grader built it, but it's huge. It's a big like blue like wasp or flying ant looking thing. But right after that, there's a billboard, and it's typically held by this lawyer Rob Levine. So you get that billboard for the day. So you can put whatever you want on that billboard, and that can kind of be like the way you can look at it.
Yeah. It's probably what I tell myself during a lot of the races, or when like I'm out today. When I was out today, and like I don't know, one of my tendons starts flaring up and it starts hurting, or like my body's sore. I tell myself like it's supposed to hurt, right? And it's not meant to be like no pain, no gain type of thing, or like being super macho about it. You're putting yourself through really tough situations and expecting a lot out of it, like whether it's a marathon, 100-mile race, whatever it is for at any level for any individual, it's like you're doing tough things, and it's hard and it's difficult, and it's gonna suck. But if you just take it and like you want to stop doing it, if you just take a second and you think about it, you're like, God, this really sucks and I want to stop. Just go, I'm like, yeah, but like it's supposed to hurt. Like that's what you signed up to do.
Right.
Like what did you expect? It was going to be easy?
Right.
You're doing something kind of ridiculous, or like you're challenging yourself. Yeah, it's going to suck, it's going to hurt. And then I think about that and it's like, okay, like then the feeling passes, right? So, it's supposed to hurt. That gets me through a lot of those mental blocks and physical blocks throughout the races and the training.
I like that. That kind of reminds me of, I think they say this in yoga a lot, which is kind of completely separate from what you're talking about. But they're like, if you're feeling something like tightness, whatever, acknowledge it. So don't ignore it. Be like, this is what's happening, and then be at peace with it. Like, it's okay that it's happening. Yeah. This is happening. It's okay. It's happening.
And then sure enough, like, the tendon flares up, and then like 2 miles later, I'm like, oh yeah, my leg was hurting, and it's not hurting anymore. Like
that's when I ran my marathon too. I feel like I'm sure that happens all the time. But like
everybody, it happens to everybody.
Little issue gone. Little issue gone. I'm like, little issue. I think my foot's broken. Oh, now it doesn't hurt anymore. It's like what? Body just gets used to it. But cool. All right, so we'll close with that. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
Yeah, great time. Roadie Strength signing off.